Alright, guard up. Sword battle, okay. Alright, and then parry the last one. Boom! Okay, that's good, that's good, that's good, okay. Alrighty, we're doing good, we're doing good. Keep it up, let's keep it up. Alicia gets stronger. Okay, she's gonna use Phantom Strike, okay? Ooh! Parried every single one! Okay. Believe it or not, everything you just saw comes from a turn-based game. My name is Leo. I love turn-based games a lot. Now, I'm going to assume that you don't really know what a turn-based game or turn-based combat is, or that you're not the biggest fan of it. Clair Obscur has brought a lot of new people into the genre. Heck, maybe you're just watching because it's my video. If so, you're pretty cool. Keeping it brief, turn-based games feature a battle system where you can only perform actions when it's your turn. Just think of a board game like chess. In reality, one of the oldest turn-based games. Now, turn-based video games exist today because of the limitations of the past. Early computers, consoles like the NES or early PCs, repetitive, but you know what I mean, didn't have the power to handle real-time calculations, but turn-based systems reduced that power demand by breaking action into manageable steps. Now you may wonder if technology and game development has improved to the point to where we have games that look and play like this.
Next, I'd like to talk about the combat of Final Fantasy XVI. All the battles in the game take place in real time and are not turn-based.
Why do we still have turn-based games? Simple. The same reason why people still play chess.
If takes, queen e2, queen h4, g3, knight g3, check, c6, queen b7, knight h1, king there. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to castle. I don't want to think too much.
There's an audience for it. And even though we're the minority, there are people like me who prefer turn-based combat as opposed to the current day real-time action games. However, turn-based games have evolved over the years. It's no longer just your turn, my turn. That move is super effective. Developers nowadays now try to add action or interactive elements to appease both classic RPG fans and bring in people who don't usually play turn-based games. Kind of like Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Today we're going to discuss two games that have a very different approach on adding action/interactive elements into turn-based games, one of them being the previously mentioned Clair Obscur, and another lesser-known game, Trails Through Daybreak, at least lesser known for people over here in the West. Act 1, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Whew, that's a mouthful. This game has been very popular as of late, selling 1 million copies in 3 days? Unheard of for a turn-based game, at least for the most part. There's some exceptions. A large part of that is in fact due to its innovation on turn-based combat. You know, in a lot of turn-based games, you can only act when it's your turn. As a matter of fact, that's how it is in most turn-based games, but in Clair Obscur, you can dodge, parry, and jump over oncoming enemy attacks. This, in tandem with quick time event button presses, allows for a more action-filled experience. In other words, if you have a friend named Tristan with a white duck profile picture that refuses to play turn-based games because he just hates standing around while being hit, this game is perfect for them. Totally not calling anyone out. But let's talk about how all of these battle additions into Clair Obscur affect turn-based combat. Does it make it better? Beginning with parrying. The way parrying in Clair Obscur is implemented, it's just cool, man. During battle, you can hit the parry button to negate damage and deal return damage whenever you're about to be hit. And if you successfully parry all the hits of a multi-hit move, keep in mind, you gotta parry every single hit of that multi-hit move, the same occurs. You know, if your reaction time is good enough, you could half-ass the character building, or the prep as I like to call it, and just lean more so on your reaction time and ability as a player. The animation for parrying comes out quick and requires precise timing, so if you want to parry moves, you're gonna have to be engaged while playing.
Alright. Shit. Oh, look at that! Oh my god, okay! Oh shit, she's getting faster. Okay, shit. Oh my god, no, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. Oh my god, we were so close too. Shit, man! Okay, well, try again. Yeah, I couldn't react to that because when I played, she rarely ever used that fleurette flurry, so I was like, shit, man, my fingers don't know what to do. But did you see? I mean, we got pretty close. Try it again.
Next up, Clair Obscur has dodging! With this, by pressing a button, you can evade all incoming damage. But just like with parrying, you can do this with any enemy attack. But with this, you're strictly avoiding damage, unlike with parrying where your goal is to parry and deal return damage. You just avoid damage here. The timing for this is actually a little bit easier than parrying. If you've played a more traditional turn-based game, you know that dodging is usually never something you have manual control over. Typically, it's a chance based off of how high your evasion stat is or something equivalent. Dodging might be the most unique addition to me, because while you can't parry mid-combat, like in Clair Obscur and other turn-based games, video games like Persona do let you counter moves if you use the appropriate defense option beforehand. Take, for example, using a previous turn to set up Tetrakarn to reflect physical moves for one turn. The only downside for some RPG fans would be that because Clair Obscur's dodging relies entirely on a reaction, your ability to press a button at the right time, you can't character build your way out of never getting hit. At least, that's what I typed in the script when I first wrote this, but after playing the game, I found out that this is very wrong.
I've been thinking a lot about this build, so I mean, hopefully it works, man. Let's see. Let's fight this guy. I mean, I've thought it out pretty well, so I should be able to do... Alright, we're just gonna miss. Come on, buddy. There we go. Alright, let's see how this goes. Alright, last chance. Right, and we're just gonna try and mark. Let's see. Okay. She has been successfully marked. Skip turn. And we're gonna let Mael move again with this move.
Your time to shine. The dance begins.
Okay. And then it's time. Let's see how much damage this shit does. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. That's great. It's always great to be rewarded for being well prepared and thinking ahead. Oh, this is fucking great. I think this might be the move.
Dodging isn't nearly as rewarding as parrying in Clair Obscur, so if you just don't want to do it, guess what? There are these things called Pictos, in-game abilities that you can equip to your character to make it so that you don't gotta dodge. As a matter of fact, you might be able to kill most enemies in the first turn, like I just showed. On the whole, Clair Obscur is pretty great about making use of dodge and parry. There are so many times throughout this game that I played in which I was just like, I cannot parry this. I cannot parry this. I do not have the reaction time to do so. I'm going to dodge. And that's a valid option in this game, especially because dodging has this auditory indicator for a lot of the moves. I mean, so if you listen, you can kind of know when to press the dodge button. It's very helpful One of the other things I mentioned that this game lets you do mid-turn-based combat is jump. And I mean, what can I say? I feel like they just added this because they could. No other turn-based game lets you jump, man. Jumping during combat is like a real-time action game exclusive thing. And it's crazy because while mostly every attack can be parried or dodged, only certain attacks can be jumped over. So it just adds another layer of complexity, adds another layer of engagement while you're playing this game. So let's talk about the quick time event button presses. In Clair Obscur, these happen in the player phase. In general, I'd say this is the only part of the game where you can take a moment to relax like it was any other damn turn-based RPG. But it still adds a level of engagement. You use a move and you have to press the correct button within a certain amount of time to guarantee the maximized effect of that move. For example, using a move that heals HP, and then you have to press A within a certain amount of time to heal more HP. Or let's say it's a damaging move, press A within a certain amount of time to deal increased damage, etc. In terms of interaction and action and engagement and all that stuff, that's pretty much where it ends in terms of the player phase. But they have more than enough stuff going on in the enemy phase in terms of all the defensive options I just talked about, parrying, dodging, jumping, to where honestly I'm kind of glad that the player phase is a little bit more chill. But that's it for Clair Obscur. I love this game and I'm very passionate about it. We're going to move on to another game, and I implore you to stay here, keep watching the video. I started with Clair Obscur because it's more popular, but I'm still very invested and passionate about the next game we're going to talk about. And like I said, it implements action too, in a very different way. It's interesting to see the different routes game development can take. So, Act 2, Trails Through Daybreak. Now, while Clair Obscur focuses on adding its action elements during turn-based combat, Trails Through Daybreak does it before the turn-based combat even begins. In many turn-based games, you can hit an enemy on the overworld to begin the battle in your advantage. Daybreak just straight up has an action field battle mode to essentially make that whole concept a lot more interesting. Really, the field battle mode is to set up the turn-based combat. It's a very different dynamic. You can basic attack, use arts, break enemies, all of that in the field mode, and you can dodge too. The neat thing about this is that you can actually defeat a good bit of enemies just in the action field battle mode. You'll see it on the screen. The majority of fights, you can just defeat them in action mode if you don't really want to go into the turn-based mode. It makes grinding a lot less monotonous, and I always say this, but literally, this is the only game in which you can go from action to turn-based, back into action. It really gives you that freedom, because you can go into turn-based after breaking an enemy in the action mode, and if you just want to, I'm kind of tired of this, I want to go back into action, you can finish the fight that way. The only time you can't really have this freedom is during specified boss fights, but a lot of the game, it's fair game. No pun intended. On the whole, Daybreak is a lot more respectful to people who like classic turn-based RPGs, because if you wanted to, you can also just go up to an enemy and immediately activate the turn-based command mode. You don't even got to interact with all that action field mode stuff. It's a very different approach, like I said earlier, to adding action into turn-based games. I mean, even Clair Obscur has that standard lend the first hit to start the battle in your favor gimmick. And Daybreak is the only game I've really seen to implement a more complex system to that landing of an initial hit. Now you may think this is where the action or interactivity ends with this field mode in Daybreak. However, you're wrong. Once you enter turn-based mode, Daybreak allows you to do something that you cannot do in most turn-based games, and that is free movement. While Clair Obscur has dodging and parrying and jumping and all of that stuff is really damn cool, you're essentially still stationary and in place like any other turn-based game. But Daybreak lets you move around You heard that right. Move around during combat, almost as if it's an action game. And this is something that actually affects the turn-based combat. If you move your character next to another character, those two characters will perform a link attack. If you position your character to the side or to the back of an enemy, you have certain moves in your arsenal that will do increased damage. And if you have a high enough speed stat, you can quite literally move out of the way of certain telegraphed enemy attacks. So many people don't like turn-based RPGs because the inability to retaliate against enemy moves. But for me, one of my biggest pet peeves will always be is that when you play a turn-based game, a lot of the time you're locked in a stationary position. You're just standing there, literally. Even Clair Obscur suffers from this, like I just mentioned. More games are starting to implement movement during turn-based combat. Dragon Quest XI and Pokemon Legends Arceus allowed free movement during battle. Now, it was much more of a cosmetic thing, but it was still nice. A more recent game, Metaphor Fantasia, while not having total 360 free movement during battle, it did let you move between a front and back row, which actually affected combat. Your positioning mattered, and that was nice. Being able to move during turn-based combat is a level of action-ish, interactive-ish thing that just makes the turn-based game feel a lot less rigid. I didn't mention this earlier, but Clair Obscur also has a free aim option. It's essentially a gun you could shoot during the player phase, and while you're in place during this, you can use it as an opportunity to look around the battlefield, kind of take in the sights while you're shooting down enemy weaknesses, enemy body parts. It's nice. You know what I'm saying? Really just goes to show that even something as little as just being able to move the camera goes a long way in terms of interactivity, at least in my book, even if it's not complete movement like Daybreak. We live in a time where turn-based games are changing drastically. Trails Through Daybreak and Clair Obscur are prime examples of that, and they have very different ways of implementing action and interactivity in turn-based gaming. In conclusion, Daybreak does it by having an advanced pre-command battle advantage state system, as well as having free movement during turn-based combat, while Clair Obscur focuses mostly on including the action during the enemy phase of turn-based combat, allowing you to get right into the thick of it by parrying, dodging, jumping. It's all pretty damn nice. At the end of the day, my message to you is that if you are not a fan of turn-based games, I highly implore you to play Clair Obscur. And if you've already played and enjoyed Clair Obscur, try out other games that implement action elements, like Trails Through Daybreak. If you're still hesitant on the genre, just please give it a chance. I mean, Clair Obscur has brought a lot of new people, and for good reason. This genre has so much to offer, and there are other games that are similar to Clair Obscur in terms of adding interactive elements, like Super Mario RPG, for example. And there are so many turn-based games that helped Clair Obscur become what it is. Like, the whole free aim shooting thing, it's gotta be inspired from Persona 5. You can't tell me it isn't. But I'm very passionate about turn-based games, and so to see this game succeed, to sell 1 million copies in 3 days, to see this level of success from a turn-based game that isn't something like freaking Pokemon, I'm ecstatic, man. I'm ecstatic to see what's next for turn-based gaming and for the genre as a whole. Anyways, that's enough of me yapping. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.